What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. Welcome to the show. We got a doozy for you this week. A lot of shit to cover, only a little bit of time, so I'm going to jump right into it. First thing is first. We all know that I'm sponsored by Turner Dairy Farms, the creators of Turner's Premium Iced Tea. Best brand to come out of the city. You know, I might be biased, but hey, best brand to come out the city. I am proud to be able to say that I'm fueled by Turner's each and every week. It means a lot to me that a brand that I grew up on wants to stand behind me and what I do with the podcast. And, I'm just happy to be able to work with them, which brings me to my next point. You know, if you've been a fan of the podcast since last year I did a Turner's I'll Call You Right Back collaboration t-shirt, which was an absolute, it was a real big hit. You know, to be honest, I was not ready for how big of a hit it was. So I had to kind of pivot and find a way to get a lot more shit printed. But this year, I will be prepared. So I teamed up with my tattoo artist, Michael Patrick, who has a tattoo studio over in Dormont called Milestone Tattoo. And last year I told him, I want the carton and I want the phone as costume, as characters, basically, in a Halloween setting. Last year, he smashed it out of the park. So this year, I had to go back to him because I wanted both the characters the same way, but a little bit of a switch up of a setting. So the Best Friends t-shirt and crew neck pre-order is now available on www.illcallyouRightback.com. You can click the link in my Instagram bio at I'll Call You Right Back, and there will be a link in there for you to purchase a t-shirt and or crew neck, multiple if you would like even. But it's a pre-order. It's just a little bit easier to do pre-orders now. It's kind of like the way of everything with COVID. I want to get a couple pre-orders just so I can get an idea because of how many people ordered shit last year. So hop on the website, pre-order what you want. It will ship in 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, it'll ship in about 3 weeks, but I want to give you a full, 3 weeks, yeah. So I would say you'd be able to have it in 3 weeks, which, is not too bad. Right in time for spooky season. I'm pumped about it. This year's design came out perfectly, and you already know I'll be wrapping it every single day of October. So hop on the website, I'llCallYouRightBack.com, check out that merchandise up in the bio, and, cop up a shirt, support the podcast, support I'll Call You Right Back, support Turner's, and it's much appreciated. But the reason that everyone is here this week, so there's few people in the city that I set my sights on and I'm relentless with, and Gavin is one of them. Gavin is the North Side Shepherd. That's the name that I'm giving him. But Gavin is the creator of Allegheny GoatScape, which is a organization that utilizes the natural grazing tendencies of goats to pretty much eradicate any of the invasive plants and overran weeds that are in certain populations of the city. It's a pretty cool idea of how to do these things without using machinery or chemicals or things like that. You could hear my dog getting a little bit of buck wild up there. She's been having a day, I'll tell you that. But me and Gavin sit down and we talk about all kinds of cool stuff, from how someone gets into being a goat shepherd and running a company that his employees are goats, and then kind of how the learning curve was, what their day-to-day maintenance is, what he has to worry about, if there's any predators in the city, kind of what their purpose is, and the reason people want to utilize goats for better and try to improve the environment. But I loved the conversation with him. It was fantastic. I love talking to all these different people that are doing great things, and it's just fun. Each and every week, I have fun being able to talk to all these cool people in the city that are doing great things that I want everyone to know about, and Gavin was another one to add to the list of great conversations. So without further ado, episode 180 episodes of I'll Call You Right Back. But episode 180 of I'll Call You Right Back with Gavin. Do you hear that dog up there? It's much, I apologize for the dog, but sometimes she's a little bit insane. But anyway, without further ado, episode 180 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Gavin Deming of Allegheny GoatScape. Pull that mic up a little bit towards you. Just So you're comfortable. Yeah. Put those on. You'll be able to get a little bit. It's just a little bit easier to control, yourself, because you could hear if you're like pulling away from the microphone like this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's all right. That thing. Is that all right? How that is?
I think so.
I think so. It sounds good. Okay. Is your volume good?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. It's different for people to like put on some headphones and like kind of listen to themselves through it.
Yeah, I'm not used to this, but that's all good.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to have this little bit of uncomfortability. But the headphones are cool because, before, whenever I did this in my apartment, I didn't have like this setup. So, if people were animated talking, like they move away, you could hear them move away from the mic.
Sure.
So it's a little bit easier to like, be conscious of yourself.
Did you do any of this in like Zoom or Facebook Live or any kind of?
I refused to do any sort of Zoom interviews because they're like the bane of my existence. Even if they are, my most favorite person, it just really killed me to listen to it. So the pandemic was definitely a very weird time for me because, I felt I was hitting my stride, and then it kind of just, we didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if this was going to be a zombie apocalypse. So I wanted to be protective of my family. But I also wanted to keep pumping out episodes.
Right.
So what I just did research episodes.
Okay.
So I would put in like I got unemployed. I was left off work for a little bit. So I would just research random shit. Tony Robbins, pyramid schemes, ghosts, things like that, and just do like a very Nikola Tesla, a very, very thorough, like hour and a half long episode, just kind of talking about it to just try to just have some content to keep pushing out.
That's cool. Yeah, we actually had our first board meeting as an organization live in person last week. And it was like joyful.
I mean, it's for someone who wants to be around people and be, part of that, like community element. It's like the pandemic was such like a terrible thing because, you feel that disconnectiveness.
Absolutely. Even if you see over the screen. Yeah. It's tough.
Not the same.
Nope. Not at all.
And you could tell that with interviews, you could tell that with working, you could tell that with anything. My wife has been, even before everyone got pretty much, working remote, like she was able to work remote, like her boss told her to do that like a month and a half beforehand, before everyone else did. And she's been working like that for almost 2 years now. And it's, it's cool, but I feel bad for her at times. She's talking about how they're going to let her, go back to work like 1 or 2 days a week. She's like, well, I just can't wait to go in and just be able to be part of, a group again.
Yep. Yeah, now, my wife's a community organizer, and I mean, that's what the bread and butter is just being with people and
absolutely
working with people to improve the neighborhood. And they're doing it. They're totally doing it. But man, it's totally changed this game when you have to do it all over a screen.
Yeah, it feels like you're dragging along a wet blanket, and it's like, you're not really like kind of like free to go on with it. But all right, so let's get into it all.
Sure.
Hello?
Telephone. I'll call you later. I'll call you later. Telephone.
I'll call you right back podcast. So...
Sorry.
Ask me.
I love your intro.
Really?
I do. It reminds me, stuff that I used to listen to, like DJ Shadow, Kid Koala, stuff like that.
The
late 90s, early 2000s, like the trip hop, hip hop.
Yeah.
So where did that come from?
My buddy Ryan Drish is a musician, very good at guitar programming, all this shit. So, and he's also a graphic designer. So I've always worked with him. I've always had like a very, very big moral responsibility to try to keep my work as close as I can. You know, like if I knew a friend that did the things that I needed, I wanted to do it with them. So I hit him up and I was like, I need an intro music. I was like, I'm going to record some snippets of me talking of what I want it to be. And he was like, what do you want it to sound like? And I said, think Shook Ones, part 2. And he was like, all right. And, you know, he sent me that back and I was like, this is literally exactly what I wanted. And I just talked about it on the last episode I did like a little solo episode. Uh-huh. And I even said, I was like, you know, every time I edit the podcast, I listen to that fully because I love it. You know, I really enjoy it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always hit him up and I'm always like, you know, it's still great every time.
I think the first time I listened, and I was like, okay, this is starting on the really right foot. So
I'm glad to hear that.
Good on you.
I'm glad to hear that. But I appreciate you coming over and talking to me.
Sure.
I think that you have been probably someone that I've had my targets on for almost over 2 years, I think.
Well, you actually contacted me, and I feel bad about this. But
don't feel bad about this.
Gosh, May or June of 2020, and I mean, you know,
I get it.
Yeah,
I absolutely
being
get
a person and just wrangling goats all day.
It gets. I
so
get
I'm
it.
glad we're finally doing this.
Me too, but I've been a fan from a distance for a while.
Cool.
I usually try to figure out, you know, how I came across these people that I talk to. So I remember exactly what I was doing. I bought a bike during the pandemic. I was ripping, flying up to my. Probably towards my parents from down south side, and I'm going behind Red Robin in the waterfront,
sure.
And I see a mule just staring right at me. I almost wrecked my bike.
Yep, that was Sunshine. Yep,
that's what its name was, Sunshine.
Yeah, she's a mini donkey, and she's the one who's there pretty much all the time. That's actually where I was all day today, taking care of them, and
they're still there.
Oh yeah, so for that specific spot, and actually most of our projects, we're working mid to late April, whenever there's enough green stuff out there.
Yeah.
Until mid, usually sometime we wrap up sometime before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
As long as there's stuff to eat, we're out there, and the whole point, and we'll get into it, of course.
Yeah.
But is removing unwanted and invasive plant vegetation. I mean, in that case, it's kind of for the public. I know, well, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure that Waterfront Association, who kind of is our partner there, is probably saving quite a bit of money, so that they're using our goats to clean up that vegetation, so you can actually see the river there, rather than using heavy machinery and paying people to rope down.
Rappel down there. So you're doing this, and you're not compromising, you know, human beings' safety, and it's not like the goats their safety is compromised. Like these things could go up, you know, sides of cliffs.
That's right. And they are literally sometimes there.
It's I mean it
along the gap trail. Sure.
It was very bizarre because, you know, I knew nothing about this. Mm-hmm. I feel like briefly before this, I heard about, you know, goats being placed in North Park somewhere or some sort of thing like that. Yeah. And I was like, like, you know, I heard about it. I was like, wonder what that's all about. And then it just washed past me. Yeah. And then, I saw the, so you said it was a miniature donkey.
Yep.
First thing is, I need to know, is a mule and a donkey the same thing?
Gosh,
do you know?
I'm so locked in on my mini donkeys that I don't pay too much attention. So a lot of people say burro, and burro is simply Spanish for donkey. Mule, I believe, and somebody's going to correct me, but I thought it's mixed between a donkey and a horse.
Oh, wow.
But so we don't have those.
Yeah.
Ours are just a miniature breed of donkeys, you know, the ones that take you up into, you know, take you to Machu Picchu or whatever in South America. It's kind of the, what is that, coffee?
They have a
I mean they're huge animals, or they're really
robust.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. A lot really strong, and they
resilient.
Our guys are tiny comparatively; they're 3 feet high.
Yeah,
but
a full size donkey is
probably twice the size and can probably carry both of us together up a mountain.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the reasoning behind the miniature donkey is what I would guess is protection. Is that correct?
You are correct.
So I feel like I came across this at some point whenever I saw a farm somewhere and they had a random donkey on there, and I asked what they were for, and the guy was like, they keep coyotes away.
That's right.
And I mean, like, how bad is the coyote population around here?
So coyotes are actually everywhere.
Yeah.
I honestly don't worry too much.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially we have 3 mini donkeys actually.
In each location?
So no, we have 1 mini donkey. We have 1 mini donkey per herd aside from one of our herds. So we have 4 working herds at all times. 3 of them have a mini donkey. Coyotes are pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
In fact, last week I saw 2, and they had to have been different ones in my own neighborhood, right in Pittsburgh's north side.
Yeah.
One was up on a hill, up above Charles Street, North Charles Street, and the other one was in the cemetery across the road from us. Middle of the day.
Yeah, I saw a video.
Around.
I saw a video of them running through the Bronx.
Yeah.
In,
in
New York,
Absolutely.
and you're just like, this is pretty crazy.
They're incredibly adaptable animals, and I mean, I don't worry too much because goats are big and they're gonna go after
fight
something
off.
smaller.
Yeah,
but goats don't really have much fighting capability. Their biggest asset is that they can see really well.
Oh, really?
So they can see. I believe it's 270 degrees. They're kind of like fish in that way or something. But they couldn't really do much to get away. They just know they should get away.
Yeah.
That's where the donkey comes in, and they just have an innate dislike of dogs.
Wow.
We obviously have a lot of dogs walking by, like especially in those highly public places like the Gap Trail. But the donkeys are also smart. They know their place is on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And so they're just going to eye him, give him the evil eyes. The dog trots by. It's so funny to see how dogs react. Some just freak out. Some think they just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And some just act like there's nothing,
Yeah,
there's no big donkey or goats next to them. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's been fun, and it's funny to see how some of our donkeys have kind of acquired fan clubs. Like
Yeah.
we have a wonderful crew of volunteers, and some I think are just in it for the donkeys. The goats are they're nice too, but it's all about the mini donkeys.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're super cute. I mean, the goats super cute. They're all super cute, and I think it's such a cool idea to utilize something like this. That is, I mean, basically they're living a great life. Just that's what they want to do. So, I mean, it's cool that you guys have kind of did this. So how does the Allegheny GoatScape come into play? Like, where does this idea come from, and when does it happen?
Yeah. So in terms of historically, grandiose, historically, goats have been used since they're the earliest domesticated animal, and they've been pretty much used since then to, well, of course, provide meat, provide milk, but also provide this added benefit of eating up many, many things.
Yeah.
So keeping unwanted vegetation down. I mean, you still see them in just a few in farms probably all over the United States, just munching on stuff that the farmers might not be able to keep down.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously been kind of modernized, and especially with a lot of, I would say, certainly urban and suburban movements towards better environmental practices. You see, I mean, even cities like Oakland and Atlanta have employed goats. And the whole point is they don't necessarily have the capacity for humans to clean up probably vegetation that they're supposed to be cleaning up, so vacant lots and parks.
Yeah.
So let's let the goats do it because they do it naturally.
Labor's cheaper too.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, it's all over the country, both in these urban areas like Pittsburgh and Atlanta, but it's also certainly used in very rural areas too, like large pastures where they want to eat up stuff that they don't want growing there. And
I saw a time lapse on Reddit the other day about it. It was like a time lapse of a herd of goats going into an overran field, and it was in like literally an hour. That it was completely changed. The farmer let in an entire herd of goats.
It's probably a huge herd. Yeah,
it was huge, and it was just completely gone. And like, I feel like people don't understand it. No one really just I feel like it's hard to conceptualize that until you see it. So it was cool to see in a time lapse and like kind of see like a little meter on the bottom to see how quick this is happening in real time. Obviously it's a 30-second video,
Sure.
but you're just like, holy shit. And in 2 hours it's completely there.
Yeah.
And they loved it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. So I can't speak to those huge herds because it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because we're working on a much smaller scale.
How many total goats?
So we have 48 total goats, 3 mini donkeys, but they're split up into 4 groups. So the largest group is 10, or excuse me, the largest group is 14. The smallest group is 10. And so for our groups, if you did a full acre, which it's kind of hard to conceptualize, it's 43,000, a little over 43,000 acres, or 43,000 square feet.
Square feet, yeah.
It takes them about 2 weeks. I mean,
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean,
10 goats.
but that's a lot of space.
Yeah, that's a shitload of space.
Yeah.
How tall is this vegetation that they're taking down?
It's a little bit variable. So, I mean, if you're on a steep hillside,
Yeah.
if the vegetation is kind of sparsely planted, or say knotweed's a pretty popular, highly invasive thing that we have going on here.
Yeah.
Really tall looks, a lot of people think it looks like bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
They could take care of that pretty quick because what they do is just knock it over and then just eat the whole plant. But if you had like bushes,
Yeah.
it might be a little bit harder. There's a lot more wood to contend with.
Yeah.
But they eat up as much as they can of the leaves and then the twigs. And then we as a staff do come in and help them out.
Take out whatever is needed.
Yeah.
Now, what is, so obviously when this started, what was the reasoning of this starting in Pittsburgh? Like, was this you that started this?
The first that I believe, first time goats were used was with a wonderful group called Tree Pittsburgh.
Tree Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and they wanted to clear a hillside in Polish Hill.
Okay.
And a park there, overrun completely with that knotweed and some vines. And there were no goats to be found anywhere that they could figure out in the region.
Goats for this purpose.
Yes.
Okay.
I certainly there are dairy goats around, but
Now, I'm sorry to put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Now, knotweed obviously is not something that you could just take out and it's gone, right?
no.
Okay. I assume it's probably a beast.
Oh, it amazes me.
Yeah.
Because it is so adaptable and voracious. But yeah, no, what it does is it just takes over and it puts its roots deep and wide, and then it's nearly impossible to kill. Really, the only true way to get rid of it is to excavate it, but then you're putting it somewhere else.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, you can manage it for sure. And you really like tamp it down. And what I like to tell people is the goats are not a silver bullet.
Yeah.
They are a piece of a broader solution.
For sure.
But yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Knotweed is something else.
I bet it is. So you start this you said it was overran in that park.
Yeah.
And there was no goats around this area.
Right. So actually what Tree Pittsburgh had to do was first they had to get permission from the city because this was a very new concept. I don't remember what the laws were, but somewhere in the early 1900s, goats and livestock became illegal in the city.
Would make sense.
Though you see old-timey pictures and it's great. You see like these handlebar mustache guys in the South Side in Mount Washington, and they've got their like pet goat next to them.
That is crazy.
And like them on the cliffs of Mount Washington itself.
Yeah.
Pretty cool to see. But it kind of fell out of favor, and maybe like just the need in a way disappeared for a while. But I think like I was mentioning, like new environmental practices kind of started coming into play, and goats had been used elsewhere. And so they wanted to give this a go. So they got permission from the city of Pittsburgh. The closest people they could find, though, was outfit out of Maryland. There's nobody closer that they could figure out. So this Maryland group came in for a few days, did exactly what they had hoped the goats would do, and they were able to pretty quickly start planting trees there. The next year, 2015, a group, husband and wife, started Steel City Grazers. And they had about 10 goats, and then they started doing this right here in Pittsburgh. And that's really where the seed took place for me.
Yeah.
Because I was part of the committee that was looking at the changing of the laws for Pittsburgh for around agriculture.
Yeah.
And so around that time, they allowed goats to be a pet, so to speak.
Oh, wow.
And they just started to ease up on what you could, like chickens and other fowl. And so this couple, they wanted to run this business. And so they did this, and it was really successful. And they actually went to that spot in Polish Hill again and really helped out with starting to mitigate those invasive species. And I used to work for the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy.
Okay.
And so part of what we did, and they still do, is plant trees and do a lot of urban greening and community greening. So there was a located spot in Oakland where we wanted to plant some trees as part of a bigger project. And so we hired Steel City Grazers.
Okay.
And they came in. It was only about a quarter acre, but they came in with their goats, and I was smitten.
Yeah.
I just was blown away by just how quick they worked and how fun it was.
Yeah.
Just to watch. And
A quarter acre, you said.
yeah, and
Would it take like a few days?
Yeah, only like 3 days.
Now,
like that.
do you have to train these goats to do this? I feel like you don't. You just have to pen them in, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And they're trained essentially on the electric fence. We do set up electric fence to keep them in and keep riffraff out. But no, they know what to do.
Now, have you? Now, I'm this. It's kind of morbid, but I'm very curious. Have you had any terrible things happen to goats in Pittsburgh?
Nothing terrible's
Deaths.
Absolutely.
I mean,
All things die.
Deaths, but from not health reasons. Like I'm talking about coyotes.
Oh no,
nothing like that.
No.
Wow.
Thankfully, no. And I mean, so we think of our goats as, almost like pets.
Yeah, exactly. I get it though.
Not just coworkers.
Yeah, but they're also workers.
And so we're a nonprofit, and part of what we do as a nonprofit is we have anthropomorphized our animals in a way that people can connect to them.
What does that mean?
Meaning that they all have names.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean, we see it on the day to day, but they have personalities.
Yeah,
they all
you
behave
humanize
differently.
them.
Yeah, totally. And so, that allows people to kind of connect to them better too, and
Build a relationship with them.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that you said Sunny was the. Didn't you say Sunshine?
Sunshine. Yeah,
Sunshine for the mini donkey.
That's right.
Sure that like. Unless you're nuts, I feel like people aren't going to be like, it's 1, 2. I'd be trying to like pet these goats, loving on these goats.
Oh yeah.
It's the best.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that in part is why we have such a great retention of volunteers. Like I have people who are just, I swear, part of the Team Hobo. That's another one of our donkeys, Hobo. The Team Hobo fan club, like they have stuck with us pretty much every week out of the year, and they just go wherever they're working to make sure they're cared for on, say, Tuesday.
Wow.
They love them so much.
That's the best.
No,
so
it's
these
fantastic.
people cleared this out in a quarter acre, and that kind of put the idea in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started just asking. I started to volunteer a little bit, help them with setup of fencing, things like that.
Yeah,
and then also my background is nonprofit administration, and so I was curious how they were running their business and how I might be able to support them potentially and help out. And that was 2016 that I was helping them out, or just doing a little bit of volunteering and just talking about business structure with them.
Yeah,
and I actually got my own property zone, or got permission from the city to be able to host goats should they need extra space.
Yeah. What does that mean? Like this is just a random area that just has a pen for goats, or is it just a random open area?
Well, in that, I actually didn't even know what I was. I just wanted to be helpful.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh, in order to have animals, that are either goats or chickens or fowl or bees.
Yeah.
You need to go to building and apply for a permit.
Yeah.
And provide whatever you need to do, just like you would adding an addition onto a home.
Yeah.
And so we did that, just sharing. This is the location of my house, and here's how big my space is. And
this was on your property,
my own property.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you meant you just bought like a piece of land that you were just like, hey, if you need some goats, toss them there.
No, it's kind of advantageous. Where we live is actually on a full acre, which is kind of an anomaly for the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And so we had a little bit of space for sure to host. And again, I had no idea really what, I just wanted to be available.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that late October, early November, I said, hey, if you need any space, I'm willing to help. And they said, well, we're thinking of taking a turn in our lives. What do you think about taking on the business? And I said, oh my gosh. So my amazing partner and wife, she said, well, you've been talking about this stuff for a long time.
You're into it.
Yeah, let's see if we can do it. So yeah, I took them on, got a loan to be able to purchase the materials, which included the animals.
Yeah. What's a going rate for a goat these days?
Goats are funny. They could be anywhere from the lowest I've paid is, well, free. Some people, but generally if you're paying for a goat, if it's say a male that's been castrated, which is called a wether, they're like $75, maybe $100.
$75, huh?
Not bad at all. And then I've seen milking goats that could be really expensive, but
now to purchase a goat, they have like auctions and stuff like that, or
you could get them at auctions.
Are these any types of goats, or do you have your eyes on like a certain breed of goat?
So I think we're kind of limited by who has what.
Yeah.
We actually have created a wonderful partnership with Goat Rodeo.
Oh my God.
And
I've had him on.
Yeah. And we, gosh, I don't know about half of our goats, but nearly half of our goats are essentially second career goats.
Oh, wow.
Meaning they were
working
dairy
goats.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And, their production went down or whatever. And so they like the idea of them continuing to be a productive animal.
That's amazing.
And so we've purchased quite a few from them.
I got to get them on. I got to get his mom on.
Yeah.
And,
I heard the one.
And talk to them and see what that's all about, because I'm fascinated by it. That's why
India's wonderful. She's the
owner of that.
Yep.
That's it's fascinating. Goats, man. Goats are they're interesting. I just went to Triple B the other day because I'm about to interview them, and I was feeding the goats up there, and I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Everyone there, it's like feeding a goat is the happiest thing you could do. It's really great.
You're not wrong.
Now, whenever you started this, like obviously, I'm sure you were kind of, faking it till you're making it, and you had imposter syndrome just like anyone does.
Sure.
So what is the idea? You originally bought 10 goats off these people, and you started housing them on your property.
Yep.
Was that was there a learning curve? Did it take you a couple months to start to understand it? Did you know anything about goats?
So I grew up in rural Southwest Michigan.
Okay.
And goats were around as just a farm animal.
Yeah.
As were, cows and all horses and sheep and all that. But I never had any myself.
Yeah.
So it was complete crash course. I texted and called Doug and Carrie. They were the previous owners a lot for the first few months, maybe in the first few years. Just with random questions. I mean, I definitely have my veterinarian on speed dial.
Yeah.
Because I'm always learning, but the beautiful thing is when you have a desire to make sure you have healthy animals. Yeah, you're figuring it out. But I had no prerequisites, so to speak.
Now, so a goat, whenever you purchase, so usually when you purchase a goat, like, first of all, how long is a goat's lifespan?
So a healthy goat will live like a dog.
A dog?
15 or so years.
And wow, are they pretty resilient animals? Like,
Yeah, they're quite healthy until they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like
we've had a few get sick here and there, but for the most part they stay real healthy. I mean, obviously we're watching what they're eating for the most part. And in the winter they're not getting all the vitamins they'd get in the green leaves. And so, we supplement their hay. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty healthy animals.
What do they eat? Like, what does a goat eat daily? Like, run me through your day of upkeep on goats.
Well, this is kind of the beautiful thing about these animals is they are
Self-sufficient.
mostly, yeah. If they could drive themselves, I would not be needed, I guess. But yeah, they most of the nutrients they need, they are getting through pretty diverse diets from plants like grape leaves and porcelain berry and the knotweed and grasses and honeysuckle bushes. And we do supply extra vitamins.
Yeah.
And we will provide monthly or bi-monthly extra supplements as needed. And we're constantly watching them, making sure they're looking healthy. There's a few signs that might make us think, oh, that goat's not doing so well. So then we'll add in vitamins. But for the most part, they stay happy and healthy.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you have regular pets?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, we have a dog and we have, I guess it's our cat. It was my in-laws cat. And then,
It's your cat now.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then we watch my sister-in-law's dog. And then we've had for quite a while, we had chickens, the predators got to them, and we have ducks right now.
Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. So you got a farm. You got a farm on your house.
Sort of.
Now, I'm curious. The reason I ask that is because, like, I've had dogs, but I've never lived with goats. Like, do you notice them being like, what's the right word? I mean, they're not idiots, obviously, but like, do they know, like, do they start to learn routines and like, they start to like, can you teach a goat tricks?
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
They know me. They know our volunteers.
Yeah.
We also have Hillary is a coworker of mine, and they know her.
Yeah.
And then we also have a wonderful SCA intern, Ellie, and they know her as well. So they will, if we come around, that's about the only time they make noise because they're expecting treats.
Yeah.
And like, it's really impressive to me when we finish up a project and there's very little left to eat.
Yeah.
At least our 3 eldest herds, they will kind of come to the gate and just be ready to get in the trailer.
Oh,
go
really?
to the next spot because they know the grass is going to be greener on the other side of that trailer ride.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we do have a new 4th herd this year, and they were actually doing similar work, but they just are so I don't understand really what their overall vibe is because they aren't like this. They're skittish and kind of run away from us for the most part.
Yeah.
We'll get them there. Maybe I'm looking for, because we haven't had them over winter. I'm looking forward to kind of getting to know them a lot better this year. But everybody else is just really compliant and easygoing. And
do you have any like goats that like no one could go near?
No. Throughout the entire time we've had these goats, and it's been since the beginning of end of 2016.
Yeah.
There has been one goat that's been kind of a jerk. Dusty was and he was fine to me.
Dusty.
And he was huge. He was a huge Nubian, but he just would try to headbutt little kids. And so that's funny, but it's not funny when you freaked out.
Yeah, it's not funny.
So I think he was probably 7 at the time. My youngest son was just, he was afraid to go into the goat's pen because Dusty was like lurking around the corner.
I bet, waiting to take kids out.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, so obviously, like the day to day of all this, they're pretty self sufficient. Like, I'm really curious about, like, how, so first of all, how do you figure out the areas that need this goatscaping?
Yeah. So I think one of the greatest things and advantages that we had just starting was that there was groundwork laid. Steel City Grazers did a lot to like create
kind of that
program.
Lane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so they got a permission from the city to go to different parks. And so we were able to just build on that because the city loved that we were doing it.
Yeah. No worry to them at all.
Yeah. So the law was created and approved by city council and all that, signed off by the mayor so that we could be doing work on city property through 2023, I think. So, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So like just the kind of building up of both the recognition that this is a potential tool was there, plus the actual policies that were set in place.
Were put in place, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of it's been word of mouth. We don't advertise too much.
Well, I mean, like, so for this, like the waterfront, okay, so obviously they probably have a committee, you know, I mean, like, how do people even decide, like, you know, this is grown up pretty good, like maybe we should call these goat people and have them come over here and bring their heart of goats.
Sure.
You know, is that pretty much what it is?
It is like that. Specifically to that example, the former council president for Homestead.
Yeah.
I had worked with him on other projects, and he knew about the goats, and it's like, this would be a great idea for our really steep embankment on the path. And he connected us to the management of the Waterfront Association.
Wow.
And so they said, let's give it a try. And that was that first year, 2017, that we were working, and they liked it enough that they keep hiring us back.
So obviously it's, you know, once they're there and everything's cleared out, the work is not done. It's just going to regrow back.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, and that's the reality of plant life, especially these advantageous plants that
job security.
Yeah, that's true. It is job security. You're right. I mean, the ultimate goal is that something new can go in place. I mean, I love it when our goats come in. Like, for example, we've been at Penn State Greater Allegheny in McKeesport.
Yeah.
Quite a few times at this point, and I just love that every year we go back. If we look at the spaces that we were at, they have completely converted to, say, a fruit tree grove or a new lawn. And these are spaces that are 10 plus years overgrown with vines and things like that. So that's the goal.
Yeah.
And that we don't need to come back.
More opportunity.
But it also means that they'll have us back for a new space.
Yeah.
And so a place like the waterfront right there on the Monongahela River, it's difficult because you have these highly invasive species that are going to keep coming back, but we're doing our best to like push it back.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it anecdotally that it's happening. We have been moving a lot quicker through the space than we first were back in like 2017, 2018.
Oh, I bet. I mean, once you got that first pass through there and really like took out the meat of it,
right?
You know, I'm sure that it's easier to beat down now.
Right.
Ounce of prevent. I don't know. I can't remember the word. Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Okay, there we go.
There it is. Yeah. Took me long
I'm
enough.
on board with that. Yeah.
Had a stroke. So like, I think it's cool that you guys don't have to use like pesticides type stuff like that. I'm not really someone who was ever like real into like agriculture or growing my own garden or anything like that, but I'm really like fascinated now. You know, in my later years in life, I kick myself in the ass of how much stuff that I just did not retain or care about whenever I was younger. Just didn't care, you know, 15, 16 years old. I'm just serving time, helping my dad do whatever. I didn't really give a shit. But now I'll wake up in the morning with a cup of coffee and just go look at my pepper plants.
Totally.
And I'll be like, let's get it. Like it'll make me pumped.
Oh no, my least favorite chore growing up was definitely picking the green beans. I hated it, but now it's like, green bean season. This is great.
Best.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of like a therapeutic type thing. So for you to like get involved with this, like where did your love for all this come from, and like where did your want? You know, some people, it's easy to just not even worry about the hillside. You know what I mean? In Pittsburgh, but I want to know how someone kind of gets involved with this.
Yeah, so my dad worked for Michigan State University at an extension campus my entire growing up.
Yeah.
And so we were always outside in the woods. Vacation was always going camping and then going to our extremely rustic, no power hunting cabin up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which was fantastic. Like,
I bet.
I loved it. And so I think it's kind of in my blood just to like love nature and being outdoors. But then just as I kind of moved through school, post high school, I want to build community and have been around other people who share similar values in that way. But I'm finding that the need to improve our environment is also has to be part of that.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And so I feel like incorporating these interesting, engaging ways to do that. Like I mentioned, I worked for the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy, and I loved that we'd bring out neighbors to plant gardens together, to plant trees together. That certainly it's a fun activity, but it's also a great thing that has lasting effects for the benefit of the community, both environmentally and aesthetically, but also, builds that capacity up. And so goats in a roundabout way are, I think, similar in that we're kind of building capacity. We're bringing people together, and we're also partnering with these other groups that are doing interesting and good environmental community work. There are times when we're out in the middle of the woods and nobody's around.
Yeah.
But I know, especially when we're in public spaces, that this is providing a greater public good, and that we're a piece of something bigger.
It's so, I feel like the key of all that is the word you use to describe it is interesting. It's like, we all know that the environment is not as good as it should be, and we could do things to benefit or to improve it. But it's like, people could say that over and over and over again and beat a dead horse, but it's these like unique ways that are like, catching people's eyes, like mine, I was someone who just like, it was just in the back of my mind. I never thought about it or cared about it.
Sure.
I picked up trash for a decade with Boy Scouts, so much with all that trash that I've picked up, I was never a piece of shit in litter or anything, but I never like really conceptualized it. But to have these like interesting things, it makes you wonder, and it makes you like kind of dig a little deeper. Like, why are these? What is this for? Like, what's the reasoning behind this? And it makes it a little bit more fun to learn about. Almost, I've always been like a hands-on, but even though this isn't hands-on, it's more of an interesting way to learn about things rather than just like your stereotypical template. Use less plastic, all that. It's just like, it's cool to like hear about ways like this, and it's pretty interesting that it's just in the city. It's just right in the city, and it's fun to learn about things like that.
I would say almost, 10 years before it was even a glimmer in my eye. I was talking with my good friend Mark, who had been leading a community garden in our neighborhood and working with children in the neighborhood to grow things. And he had gone to some conference and said, like, these people in Milwaukee or wherever it was, are using goats to just clean up these vacant lots in their neighborhood. And we should do that. We should just get a herd of goats and just walk around the north side with a bow and staff and a bunch of goats behind and just eat up all these vacant, because we have so many.
Yeah.
And of course I thought that was
a ridiculous idea back then.
Cool, but also
cool,
like
but not
silly.
real.
I was like, that would be really great.
What's he think about that now?
Oh, he actually asked me, if we could use his goats on his property. So
Come full circle.
He's still on board with it. But it's one of those things like, and of course he saw it also from a way to incorporate other people joining in. And I love that idea, but it's amazing. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? So, this is your full-time job doing this.
It is. Yep.
Now, for someone, it's interesting, where does the funds come from to make this operation run? To me in the beginning, I was thinking about that. I'm like, you got to keep goats, you got to have the fencing, things like that. But is there a lot of overhead to keep this going?
Well, like most nonprofits, the overhead is usually staffing.
Yeah.
For real. I actually, with this, did not get paid for the first 2 years that I was doing it.
Passion project.
That's right. But I wanted to see it succeed, and we gradually grew. We started with one herd, then two, then three. Now we're at four.
How many people do you employ?
So there's myself and then two part-time, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, we've been building it up. If people are able to pay, it's fee for service. Different than you paying a landscaper to do pretty much the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
But we wanted to, why I incorporated it as a nonprofit was one, that's my background. I have an MSW specific to resource development.
Yeah.
And the other piece is I wanted to be able to raise those funds should it make sense to be part of a project, say in a community park.
Yeah.
If they don't have the funds for that, we can step in and actually go to foundations or go to businesses and get grants.
Yeah, and be able to
You can't
source
do that
things
as
for
a for-profit.
That makes sense. That's that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you two, so you started out with this 10 goats, when did it start to ramp up? Actually, first of all, you get these 10 goats. How long until you had your first project, or did it just keep running from Steel City Grazers?
So we were able to go to some of the people that Steel City Grazers had worked for or that were on their waiting list.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm trying to remember. The very first project we ever did was, and I don't remember where the connection came from, but it was a church in Crafton Heights, I believe. And they had tried to hire landscapers to clear out their hillside. Nobody would touch it.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah. And they got there and they did it.
They did it. I mean, I did a lot of grabbing vines, climbing up each side of the hill. Yeah, that was our first. And then we just had a few other connections that just started to ramp up. And
so do you just go there, you install a fence, and then, you put these goats on a truck, you pull in there, and you just, walk the goats up into this fence, and then you just close the fence, and that's it?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we of course provide a canopy in case of inclement weather, water.
What do they do overnight? Do they sleep overnight just standing up, or?
Yeah, they get about 5 hours of sleep throughout the day. I still have rarely caught them actually with their eyes closed.
Oh, wow.
I kind of think they're like sharks in that way, where they're kind of half sleeping. and amazingly, the donkey gets 3 hours.
3 hours of
which
sleep.
makes him a good guardian too, of course. But yeah,
that's it. He functions off 3 hours.
Yeah, they're not like dogs or cats.
They lay down
sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But do they do? They can sleep.
They rest.
Standing up.
They rest. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But it's funny to see them like all pile on top of each other and just kind of take a nap.
My goodness.
But, yeah, it's rare to see them close their eyes.
That is insane.
Yeah, so they just kind of do it in the heat of the summer. They'll actually do a lot more work at night than they would during the day. They kind of just try to
be stagnant
take it
in
easy.
the day. Mm-hmm. Now, do goats have good night vision?
I don't really know that answer.
I don't know either.
They have good vision. I
bet.
can tell you that, but I don't know about good night vision.
What an interesting, I don't know. It's wild. So, I mean, so how do you keep, so you take these goats there and you just go back, weekly, every few days and just kind of monitor, the stuff that they beat down on there and kind of reevaluate and adjust your timeline to there?
Yeah, we're checking on them daily, sometimes twice. And that's where volunteers come in and just help with, checking on the fence, making sure everything's good, adding water to the buckets and giving a lot of pets and things like that. But yeah, we're checking on it daily to see progress and health. And usually what we do is provide our partners or our clients with a guesstimate. So it takes about, with our herds, 2 weeks to do 1 acre. And then, we proportional size projects to that.
Yeah.
So some people, we give them that approximation and say it could take this many days to this many days.
Yeah.
For other groups, they'd rather just have a specific number of days. And if it's done, it's done. If it's not, so be it. It's almost done. So it kind of depends on who the client is. So for example, we'll be going to Carnegie Mellon University this week, and they just want them for 3 days. So that's what we'll do. And it's actually worked out with the space in the years past. So
3 days.
I bet they'll be done, but it's about 0.4 of an acre, and less and less grows back every year. So yeah, I imagine they'll be through it pretty quick.
This is, I don't know. This is just mind blowing to me. It's bizarre. So these goats, once they're like, what's the biggest like problem that you've encountered with this? Like, have you had any problems with this whole like organization as far as like, goats getting sick or like things like that? What kind of things happened?
So I will say for the most part, we have had very little issues, and it's great. People love animals.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood for sure. I think people like animals more than they like humans, so
100%.
that's to our advantage for sure.
Yeah.
And there's of course, I'm speaking very biasedly, but there's very little drawbacks to what we're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of concerns are that they stink or that they make a lot of noise, but honestly, a happy goat is a quiet goat. And so I
don't really remember it smelling whenever I was there.
That's the thing. So, if you have a bunch of animals all confined to one single space for a long time, of course, it's going to smell like a barn, but we'll just get into it. They poop like deer.
Yeah.
So they're pooping all over the place.
Yeah.
But there's no like, it's not confined to a single space. So
yeah, it's spread over.
Yeah. So you won't really find much in the summer months. And actually that poop is really fantastic
for the soil.
Yeah. It's ready-made fertilizer because they have 4 stomachs. They're burning up the seeds and all the
4
nutrients.
stomachs.
Mm-hmm. And so they're just burning it up, and it's essentially ready-made. You could put it on your garden if you wanted to right then.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's an instant advantage. A, you're not adding new seeds that you don't want growing, and B, you're providing nutrients to the soil.
Yeah.
So that's usually we're able to get around that pretty quick.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, just actively when they're out, deer. There are so many deer in our area, and they have their paths, and usually we put fence right through the paths. So we have on occasion had our goats get out because the deer
break the fence,
rip right through the fence, and the goats are not dumb, and they, like I mentioned, always think the grass is greener on the other side.
So they just leave.
So they just kind of walk out. Beauty, it's not a beautiful thing. It's annoying when it happens, and if we were on a busy roadway, it'd be scary. Thankfully, that nothing has happened, but they don't go far because all they want to do is find good stuff to eat.
Yeah.
And so I've never, it's annoying when it happens, and it's rare, but that has happened. The other thing that I had no idea getting into this is that the closest veterinarian that we have is in Katanning.
Katanning?
Yeah. And they don't come to see us. We have to go to see them. So big animal vet's a pretty specialized thing. And there's a lot of vets all over Allegheny County, but they usually only service dogs and cats.
Yeah,
and birds.
small animals.
That's right.
I just
sometimes horses, but
I interviewed that. So like I was just going to say, I interviewed a veterinarian, and she was explaining the difference between a small animal veterinarian and then a big animal. So people that would work on horses are not, I guess that's an equine.
That's right.
Equine.
So I bet we could take our donkeys to them.
Yeah.
But not the goats.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's tough. So we have to coordinate everything.
Is that the most costly end of the organization as far as like random things? Like if a goat, I was talking to the vet, and she was talking about, and whenever it has to do with horses, that's why it's so hard to work on horses. That's why you hear that expression, take one out and put one behind the ear, because people would just shoot a horse because it's easier to do that rather than try to fix it. Like if you have a goat that's real sick, obviously a vet bill is not cheap whatsoever. So those are just unexplained things that you have to deal with.
So of course, if a goat gets sick, it does cost money, but I'm actually amazed at how little we're paying for vet bills. I think partly because they're such a healthy, hardy animal.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about.
Usually it's just the vaccinations on an annual basis to avoid, what's out there.
Yeah.
Occasional deworming, that sort of thing. But
now, what about ticks? Do they have to worry about ticks?
Yeah, and this information I think is still evolving. So yes, ticks are a thing. They don't seem to like goats as much. And that might just be us not paying enough attention, but on occasion we pull them off. Especially as I mentioned, we're in places where deer are all the time. But it sounds like they can get Lyme disease, which is not a good thing. But they also are able to, it sounds, I mean, again, it's evolving information. But recent studies are showing that it might stop with goats. Like they don't necessarily transfer Lyme. And we've never had to deal with any Lyme disease issues. This is one of those things I need to just keep up on the information.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's evolving over time.
Yep, it's everywhere.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Would now do you? I mean, like, so what are your goals with this as a business and as a company and an organization? Like, what are the goals of this? Do you want to grow it to be something that is, way bigger than it is, or do you want to have a nice natural, funnel of, business?
I would actually, I mean, we at this moment, and I think as long as we have stuff growing in Pittsburgh, unless something really changes, it's only the amount of vegetation we need to remove for the sake of just better environment is not going to wane anytime soon. And so we have a long waiting list even through 2022 for people who want to utilize our business, which is a great issue to have. And as long as what we're doing is beneficial to our clients, to our partners, I foresee us sticking around for sure. And honestly, I was at a conference this last weekend up in Crawford County, and because we get asked even places like Erie County quite a bit, like, can you come up to see us and bring your goats? And the reality is we can't. And so I'd love to see and help other people maybe start this in other regions, because there aren't too many of us out here. We have there's a group up in Buffalo, there's one in Cleveland area, and certainly a little more out east, Philadelphia region, but we're kind of the only thing between Buffalo, Cleveland, and Virginia maybe.
Wow.
Maryland.
That's pretty wild.
So instead of us kind of building, I would much rather see
other things open. Other chapters open.
Because I mean, sharing the goat love here, I mean, it's a great thing. I love what I do.
It really is a fascinating concept of it all. It's fun. It seems, it seems like it's you're not really compromising a lot of people. How about this? So have you had any instances where goats have been in places where it was like hard to get to them and shit like that, because they're obviously, climbing wherever? Do you keep them pretty contained, or do they find a way to get out sometimes?
They don't get out. So we use a solar powered electric fence. And so they don't get out so long as there's no break in the fence. Now, when those deer come through, they might get out. As long as everything's on, pretty good. We feel very confident in our fencing.
You guys got a pretty foolproof plan going on over there, huh?
Not foolproof, but
not foolproof.
As long as everything is working, it's working too. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are times when so the biggest project we ever did was 4 acres at one time, and that was really too big because it allowed the goats to just wander around. Instead of kind of keeping them.
Where's that at?
Small and more efficient.
4 acres.
It was actually on Penn State Greater Allegheny's campus.
Oh, wow.
And that was just one where if I would do it again, I would definitely make it smaller and then just move them from quadrant to quadrant.
That would make sense.
Yeah. But there were times when you didn't see them until you walked around the entire space and kind of circle in just because they were just kind of hiding under bushes and hanging out.
Yeah. Wow. But, so, I mean, this is your life every day, obviously. So, I mean, what do you do whenever you're not, messing with goats? What do you do for fun?
So I do love, I love nature myself. I mean, it's in my blood. And I also love football, i.e. soccer.
Wow.
And my kids are both playing and I'm helping to coach them.
Wow.
And so that's been a lot of fun.
Awesome stuff.
I'm on a team myself.
You play still?
I do.
Nice.
Yeah. I turned 40 this year. And so, I was really excited to be a young whippersnapper this year and play for the over 40 league.
Are you playing futsal or are you playing?
No, it's outdoor.
Outdoor. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. My brother and all them, they play futsal. So, he's
it's good stuff.
He's like 37. So he's like, that's what keeps me. That's where they keep their competitive edge. It's cool though. That's cool that you get out there and, keep yourself busy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, my family, my dog, it was she's 2 now, but she's a Weimaraner, so she's full of energy. So I definitely took up running again. I used to be a runner regularly, but took it up again this year because
that dog needs it out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My dog is a regular dog, and the Weimaraners are insane.
She's gorgeous, but man, she's a lot of
energy.
Yeah.
What's your partner think about all this? Your wife and your partner, like, what does she think about you just being the goat guy now?
So, I think for the most part she likes what we're doing, but I honestly feel a little bad for her because people know she's married to the goat guy.
Yeah, the goat guy.
She has a really interesting career too, and she's doing so much to help our neighbors out and build capacity, but they want to know about the goats.
Yeah.
So she'll start talking about her job and she's like, "Oh, I thought you did it too." And she's like, "No,
you steal the spotlight away, huh?"
Yeah. So I mean, obviously she's supportive, and during the winter we actually, thanks to the city of Pittsburgh, house 2 of the herds at our house.
Yeah. Yeah, what's that like during the winter time? Like, so at your home, what kind of structure do they have? Do they sleep in? Is it just like an overhang, or do they have like a coop almost looking thing? Or
so I converted our garage into a space that houses hay and tools, and then the other half is just where the goats stay.
Yeah.
It's essentially all they truly need is 3 sides and a roof.
Wow.
They're pretty
resilient with that.
They're hardy. They're resilient.
We got some right out here that I always drive by. It's a small house. They got a small area of land, and they just have a little lean-to, and these goats look like they're living the dream. I think that they might be pygmies because they're very small.
Yeah.
But they're running around having a great time. But like wintertime, they're pretty... They could be out in the snow and everything like that.
Yeah, they don't like being out in the snow as much, but
they're not out there all night and stuff like that.
That's why they need that 3-sided, at least 3 sides of a barn. It's really the wind, that and then the shifting of the temperatures, that could do them in. But they're hardy. I mean, a lot of these goats were initially bred in like Saharan desert, and so they were bred to withstand really cold and really hot temps, and so. I mean, North America is nothing for them, really.
My goodness. Geez, what an intense life.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. The hardest thing for us is that, getting away is not easy. And
I bet
I never have my cell phone off just for that worry that I'm going to get some call. It doesn't happen, but get a call that's goats out somewhere. And there was an article, some goats wandered off, got out of their enclosure up somewhere off I-79 like last year, beginning of the spring, and they had found a way to walk under a bridge that was 79. Somebody sent it to me without any context, and I just freaked out that these were my goats. But I was like, how could they be my goats? Because they're in the backyard. But yeah, I was freaking out about it, but then realized, okay. They are mine, but that's crazy. Like goats will kind of go anywhere.
Absolutely. Have you grown attached to a certain goat? Like, do you have a pet that's like your guy?
I don't have I have a particular favorite, and that's Angel Face. He's been with me since the beginning, and he's just a friendly, kind of reserved goat, but just really, I don't know. He's in it for a cuddle. But the reality is that all of them are pretty
high up
kind
on your list.
And, Yeah, they all have their own little quirks, which I appreciate as just animals.
Yeah, that's what he said about the dude from Goat Rodeo. He was like, man, they all have their own personalities.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, obviously, when I first got that herd, I was like, how am I ever going to keep these guys straight?
Yeah.
It took a few days, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's Wimpy. That's definitely Wimpy. That's Cowboy. That's Ozark. I mean, I know exactly who they are, and it's really easy to tell the difference based, of course, by how they look, but also how they act.
Yeah. Do you ever have to worry about people like hitting you up saying like, I have a goat that I don't want anymore. Do you want him?
That happens pretty regularly.
I bet.
And that's difficult because there's not a lot of good avenues for that. A non-starter for us is horns. And a lot of goats.
What do you mean?
So, in the city of Pittsburgh, it's not legal to have a goat with horns.
Oh, really?
Yep. So
do they make certain? Do goats come without horns?
they do come. Yes. Yeah, there are breeds, and even types within certain breeds just genetically don't have horns.
So you're not just like chirping them off with a saw.
No, but
Okay.
there is a process called disbudding that a goat who would have horns at near birth, where they get like burnt, which sounds pretty awful.
Yeah, it's almost
probably
like,
is cauterizing is essentially what it is.
Yeah, it's like dew clawing a puppy. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a one-time thing. They aren't hurt.
Like takes the nerves out of them and keeps them from growing.
That's right.
Okay,
Stops the blood.
That's interesting. So no goats could have a horn. Why is that? Just safety reasons, basically?
Safety for both the goats and people who are handling them.
Yeah.
And then you have, if there's just a danger advantage for a goat with horns versus without.
Yeah.
For our line of work, I would hate for a goat to somehow get caught in the fence with its horns.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
And so, there's a few factors. And I think the city just probably didn't want to deal with anything like that.
Yeah. One more factor that could be a bit terrible.
So usually that when people ask me about taking their goats, that's the first question. I never hear back from them ever again.
Yeah.
And I think
because of that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's probably the reason that goats are probably that people want to get rid of their goats is probably they're like, I didn't realize how difficult this would be. Not that goats are a difficult animal to have, but they eat everything.
Yeah.
And you need to be constantly
giving them stuff to eat. That's plus probably some of them might be almost like aggressive sometimes.
They could be. I mean, I'm grateful that my goats are not and
That's
have
great.
not, except for Dusty, as I mentioned. But yeah, for the most part, they're just pretty docile. But yeah, I'm sure every now and again you get an aggressive one. In the city of Pittsburgh, also, they don't allow you to have bucks or males that haven't been castrated.
Oh wow!
Because they do get aggressive for a little bit out of the year, no different from like a rutting deer, and they stink. Oh,
like must.
Yeah. They get themselves an odor, and they're not pleasant to be around. For that time.
Yeah. Do you?
So I don't deal with that.
Like the goats at your house, like do you like clean them at all? Or are they like they're
clean animals? No. I mean, what we do, we do basic things like keeping them healthy with medicines and supplements.
But you don't have to do like cosmetics where you have to like shoe a horse.
We trim their hooves.
Oh, really?
For sure. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's.
Do you do that yourself?
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Is that difficult?
It can be. Again,
I'm sure it's like probably like a dog getting their nails clipped.
I'm sure it's similar. I would much rather trim hooves of a goat than trim my dog's.
Oh, okay. That's nails. Good then.
But I mean, she's also hates it and runs away. And just like anything else, it's their personality. Some fall asleep while we're doing it.
Yeah.
Others I feel like they're the most uncomfortable they've ever been in their entire life. They're just squirmy and make a lot of noise and try to bite us, which they never try to bite.
Yeah.
So it can be an arduous process, but I mean, it's just one of those things.
That's interesting that's something you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Every month or so.
Now, this is a random question that I started really thinking about, but what about dental hygiene for goats? Because they're obviously, that's their tools to work.
Sure.
Is that ever something that is like, that is worrying?
No, I mean, if we keep track of how their teeth are looking, but no, I
understand
haven't
that.
had to deal with that.
I just didn't know if that was like something that was something to think about, because I know some, like, I got a dog, 8 months ago. I've been, obsessive about it. And they talk about how dental hygiene is like one of the most important things that is like you could really worry about, because they'll have to lose their teeth. And if a goat has no teeth, they're going to be no use, freeloaders.
That is true. That's true. No, I not really, maybe I should be paying more attention to their teeth, but so they're interesting. They have no front upper teeth. They have front lower teeth, and then they have this huge gap between front teeth and their incisors. Is that right? Incisors?
Yeah.
Where there's just a gap. So that, when we're trying to give them medicines or whatever, it's pretty easy to just grab their mouth and kind of pull it open so that we can put stuff inside their mouth, like, pills or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, they've got a really interesting, and I think that also helps them eat.
Yeah.
Because they'll actually, if you watch them, they eat from their side of their mouth where they have that gap and then pull back rather than eating it straight
fascinating.
on. And so, I better start looking at the teeth, but they seem, when I look,
I'm sure that
they seem fine.
I don't think farmers are going to look at 1,000 sheep's teeth. You know what I mean? So they're probably a little bit more resilient than a dog.
Yeah,
but
and certainly our donkeys have a different type of teeth, and we definitely look at those and probably could be brushing them more than we do. But
interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. Now, how long does a donkey live? Same. Around 15 years?
25 to 40 years. So
what?
We plan on having Hobo and Diamond and Sunshine for a long time.
40 years? Mm-hmm. Jesus. Is that how long a horse lives?
30.
20 some?
Yeah. They can live really long too.
My goodness. That is wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What's your kid think about this?
So I've got two kids, and they love the goats, but they like their Minecraft and things like that. So when I get to take them out with me while I'm working, they're all in.
Yeah.
And they love it. But
when they're home, they're all in as well.
You got it. They enjoy it. I think they are kind of proud of what I do and the fact that, we're the only people on the block with goats.
I know, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and when friends come over, they're definitely all about showing them off and things like that.
I've been really looking into getting, my plan this year is to get chickens for out here.
Yeah.
That's like really something. These people right over the hill, they have a few, and I don't want nothing crazy, just 4 probably.
Yeah, totally.
But what's so weird is my brother moved to Norwin School District, and he's not allowed to own chickens unless you have over 10 acres, but you're allowed to own quail. And my brother is someone who tries to, stick it to the man. So he's like, I'm just going to get a horde of quail. And like, he would take care of them. He's very into it. But I just thought that was interesting, things like that.
Yeah.
People in Northside have chickens. Right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep. We're allowed to. And most properties in Pittsburgh now are able to have goats, but only 2, and they have to be miniature goats. Yep. Now, given that we have such a large space, and we have Pittsburgh woods behind our house, so we're allowed to utilize that space too to keep our goats in.
That's great.
But, we definitely had chickens before we had the goats around. For a long time, a lot of people would they knew the law, but it was really prohibitive. You'd have to pay $300 or something just to get a permit or just apply for that permit. So they would basically say, well, if my neighbor's cool with it, I'm just going to go do it because they're not going to rat me out.
Yeah, I love that.
But it goes municipality by municipality. Like some are
weird.
So 10 acres. Who has 10 acres, right?
Who has 10 acres?
For 2 or 4 chickens.
He has like 2.5 acres.
That's
and
right.
He's like, I would love to just have a few chickens.
Right. Nobody would even hear those chickens, but
maybe that'll happen. But so, I'm kind of blown away by it. I would love to come and volunteer and give you a hand doing whatever. I do want to ask a couple more questions since you're an outdoorsy person. So I've been really seeing a lot of the spotted lanternfly, things online about how terrible they are.
Yeah. Are you seeing them here?
No, I have not seen any, knock on wood, but I'm curious because I've been seeing, more people posting about them.
Yep.
Being outside all the time, are you seeing them a lot?
So doing a project, we've only seen them once. I'm sure I've probably walked by them and didn't realize it. But I only saw them once, and that was right along Route 65 in Edgeworth, heading out just past Sewickley.
Yeah.
And I actually, it was the first time I saw him. I was like, oh, that's too like round to be that spotted lanternfly. But lo and behold, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
And geez, we had a large tree taken down in our yard last week, and the people who took them down actually said, we saw some lanternflies on your tree. So I was like, oh crap.
Jeez.
Yeah. So they're everywhere. And
they're destroying everything.
I mean, this is just the beginning. The interesting thing is they are finding these host plants that were native to where they came from. So I think that's a good thing. But unfortunately, it's also these invasive plants like the knotweed, like Ailanthus or Tree of Heaven. And so I'm not sure. I'm sure there are scientists trying to figure this out. Like, how can we leverage
Mitigate
this?
all this?
But yeah, it's not I mean, we'll see. We adapt and we figure out how to.
Yeah, we figure it out.
But yeah, it could be really devastating to our crops for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Damn, what an interesting time. Just the goat guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? What's that hat you're wearing?
What is my hat?
There's a goat holding a hockey stick.
Okay, yes. So
what's my hat? There's a goat on it.
I feel like I wear a different hat every day, and I love minor league baseball teams.
Okay.
Just they have creative teams. So
this is cool logos too.
This is exactly. So this is the Hartford Yard Goats.
Hartford Yard Goats.
Perfect for what I do. I've been meaning to actually reach out to them and see what free swag I can get.
That would be amazing. They would have to.
Yeah, they're a AA team out of Hartford, Connecticut. And actually Yard Goats is a nickname for the, I don't know if they're really a conductor, but the person who basically when the trains come into the yard, they switch tracks and all that. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, to speak on the Connecticut bandwagon, have you watched Crime and Penalties on Netflix?
No.
It's called Untold Crime and Penalties.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm going to put you onto it, and it's going to change your life, basically.
Okay.
It is a minor league hockey team out of Danbury, Connecticut.
Okay.
That was... So it was ran by a 17-year-old kid named AJ Galante.
Okay.
His dad was like the real life Tony Soprano who bought him this team. And I'm going to leave it at that, but you should really watch it.
Is it like a biopic kind of thing or what?
It's like a documentary, hour and 20 minutes.
Actual documentary.
Documentary, hour and 20 minutes.
Into that.
It is, you're watching it the whole time with your mouth open like, I cannot believe this. But if you're into like the minor league, they have the coolest logo of all time.
Okay.
They're called the Danbury Trashers, and it's a trash can with two like creepy eyes coming out of there.
Like an evil Oscar kind of thing.
Yeah. After this documentary, their jerseys went on eBay for like 10 grand,
I'm sure.
And there's, you'll love it. I promise you it's worth seeing. But, okay, on to the next and final part of this podcast. I mean, obviously we learned all about goats. It's, outrageous that this is what you get to do every day.
Yeah, I love it.
I bet you do.
And come visit whenever you can. I mean, in the
100%.
winters, when they're kind of stationary, we are actually having them move quite a bit. I mean, right now they're at Southside Park in the Southside Slopes.
Yeah.
We'll be moving that herd, Team Hobo, to Frick soon. And then we've actually got two herds working out at Flight 93 National Memorial,
wow,
which is pretty cool. And then, of course, the ones that you saw, Team Sunshine, is a pretty steady working along the Great Allegheny Passage there in Homestead. So
just making some shit happen.
Yeah, we keep moving around.
Love it.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so let's get into the. I mean, I always call it the most interesting part of the podcast, but I don't want to take anything away from your life story that we talked about.
Right.
But ending segment of the podcast I do with all my guests is a segment called Desert Island Questions. So, desert island questions is whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island until they starve to death and die.
Okay.
So, the first category is 3 things to watch on a desert island. So, you get to pick 3 movies to take with you to watch over and over and over again.
Oh, 3 movies, huh?
Yep. Oh, I mean, TV shows too, if that's easier.
We'll go with movies. There's so much good TV out right now.
There really is. You watching anything good recently?
So, what did we see last night? And so my wife and I just love kind of dramedies of teenage dramedies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if what hooked us was long ago. It was like the OC.
Oh yeah.
We watched it with friends. It was ridiculous, but
That was great.
Adam Brody was amazing.
You ever watch Gossip Girl?
So not Gossip Girl, but Gilmore Girls.
Oh, that's a good one.
Loved. And then, yeah, we just keep going. Like, I don't know, last night we watched the first episode of the third season of Sex Education. That's a fantastic show.
I know
Pretty
it's on
intense.
the list.
I would never let my kids see it.
Yeah.
Just kind of talk through it on a healthy level, but
Yeah.
so good.
We're watching Euphoria right now, and
Okay.
that's something that,
that one.
that's like rated very aggressively.
Yeah. But really good and, I don't know, fun. And then Dairy Girls is another fantastic
Dairy
one.
Girls.
It's about this group of friends growing up in Derry, Northern Ireland during the Troubles, early 90s.
Yeah.
And they are Catholic. And that, they're just being teenagers, but like this civil war is kind of going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That sounds fascinating.
It's fun. And I mean, it's hilarious.
We're definitely spoiled with how great of TV there is.
My gosh, there's so much good stuff.
There really is so much great stuff. Me and my wife just finished The Sopranos for the first time. If you ever watched that?
No.
Honestly, it took me 20 years. It came out in 99,
Right.
I believe.
Right. Oh my gosh. Wow.
So it took me like 20 years to watch it. But, after I ask people this all the time, like 3 movies, 3 TV shows to watch on a desert island, and people have picked it. And it's almost like whenever people pick Seinfeld, it's like, I know I've been missing stuff. I know I've been missing out for so long.
Yeah.
Took me like a month and a half to rip through The Sopranos, but like you could really figure out why it was such a powerful time, because that was like the first TV show that was like a cult, fandom where it's like Game of Thrones. The whole entire world watched Game of Thrones.
Right.
I didn't watch it.
I didn't either.
I wasn't into it. But like
Whole world -2.
it was like a fandom that arose with it. And for
Yeah.
this to happen back then, it still holds up.
Right. Kind of like how, and then The Wire and Breaking Bad kind of followed that up.
The Wire is next on my
so
list. I know. R.I.P. I knew
right,
that.
Michael
But Breaking Bad was great. We just watched Snowfall, which was a fantastic show. But there's so much. But
All right.
tangential. Top 3.
Let's get to the movies because, there's so much good TV out there. I would say, The Royal Tenenbaums.
That's a great one.
Royal Tenenbaums. Let's go Willy Wonka, The Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder.
Yeah. I'd be offended if you would have said, if you would have been like, the one with Johnny Depp, I'd have been like, what?
Yeah, I didn't know. So good.
When's the last time you watched that?
It's been years.
I watched it recently, I think right before we moved, and me and my wife were watching it, and we're like, this was pretty messed up.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
it
it's pretty
is.
deep.
Yeah.
But it's still a really, really great movie for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It still has a lot of whimsical things going on, a lot of just bizarre stuff. And then, let's see, third one, Muppets Christmas Carol.
Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah, I love the holidays, and I love the Muppets, and it's well done.
Yeah.
But it just has that like good Muppet comedy and
plus that injection of nostalgia in it.
Absolutely, and it's a good story too. The Dickens Christmas Carol is it's a pretty good story. So
that's a good selection right
Absolutely.
there. Those are a good 3.
Yeah.
So the second category, I usually ask people 3 books to take with them on a desert island. Do you read?
I read. I have a stack of about 6 books that I'm constantly working through that just so slow because I also have this stupid phone with me that kind of diverts my attention.
Well,
and then all of that television. We'll try to think of some books here. That's the thing. I love having books and I love reading. It's just like you kind of build on them, Mm-hmm. I probably I'd be kind of maybe I wouldn't be on my own, but I'd have time on my hands.
Yeah.
So I'd probably pick Barbara Kingsolver's The Poisonwood Bible.
What is that?
It's a book about a family who, it's been so long since I've read it, but it was life-changing at the time.
It's an actual book. I didn't know. I didn't know if it was like, you said the poison. I didn't know if it was like a plant book.
No. It's actually called The Poisonwood Bible. That's the title. It's about a family and various aspects of dealing with Christianity and being white colonizers in South Africa.
Okay.
Just really interesting. And Barbara Kingsolver is one of my favorite writers. So yeah,
Okay.
fantastic. Let's see. Another book I would go with is Jayber Crow by Wendell Berry. I love Wendell Berry, and he's been extremely influential in how I see agriculture and community. I would say he's a prophet. He's still alive, but he's pretty old. But this is one of his novels versus poetry or essays, which he's pretty big on that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an extremely prolific writer. I definitely Jayber Crow. I think it would probably keep me interested just to have the Bible on hand.
It would be interesting. That's a
There's a lot going on in there. I mean, I grew up pretty religious, and it's really important to me in a totally different way, having grown up and continuing to evolve. But yeah, there's a lot going on there that
you were raised Christian.
Yeah. Yep.
It's interesting to be put into something when you're grown up. I think about this often. I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
And whether my beliefs of it now or not, it's I've drifted from what the traditional views of it all.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I feel like it was very, very important for me to have that growing up. And I often think that if I had a kid, with my beliefs now, like what would I do with it?
Yeah. Oh,
but it's like, it's such like a loaded question, and it's such a beast to do, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it was an important thing to have that growing up.
Yeah.
And it teaches you to have like a conscience, enhances your conscience almost.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good ethics there potentially.
Yeah.
Could be awful too.
Yeah. It's also a very loaded thing. Yeah. It's a very loaded thing.
I mean, my church community, I still go to church, and it's really important to me. And, it's where some of my favorite people are.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of messed up things that have come along with it. So
it's fascinating.
Trying to leave that behind.
It's really fascinating to hear, to be able to have a conversation with someone who has an open mind that's not immediately just like, you don't believe what I'm believing, we're just shuts it off there. I've always been so fascinated, just like hearing why people believe about things. Last year we were talking about, during the pandemic, like what I was doing with episodes, I interviewed a rabbi and, interviewed him just because I knew nothing about, Judaism at all. And I was just so fascinated by it because, everyone, when it's December, it forever, it was just Merry Christmas. Commercials, everything.
That's right.
And in the past, 5-6 years, it started to migrate into happy holidays, and everything is so centralized. There's always Christmas movies, always stuff like that, but there's never anything about like Hanukkah. And I was just like, I want to learn about this, and it was so fascinating.
Sure.
I just love learning about it all. It's the only thing that is so powerful, that has caused so much death in the world, that has caused so much good in the world, so much bad. It's such a powerful thing. It's interesting to learn about.
Our kids even had school off last Tuesday for Rosh Hashanah, and that's awesome that we do that. The school district's big enough and has a big enough population, but as not having that connection with the Jewish faith, it's like, that's cool, but it'd be really cool if we learned about it so we could also support our Jewish brothers and sisters.
Everyone is forced to learn about like the Christmas shit and everything, and it's like, they don't give a shit about Christmas. It's like, I want to learn about like what is the most important to you. And it turns out, I wanted to interview him about Hanukkah, and but it turns out Hanukkah really isn't
minor.
Even, it's not even a big deal to them. And I was like, that is so incredible, because it's
absolutely.
It's just what we build up in our mind, but really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Bible is a great choice as well too. I mean, I feel like anyone, whether they were raised in something or not, there would be stuff that you could go in there and sort out and read over. And I've been wanting to dive back into it just to read through it again.
Sure.
It's very interesting.
Reinterpret it? Why not?
Yeah, reinterpret it. Why not? I mean, that's the beauty of everything, of having your own mind.
That's right.
Okay, so third category. Can you tell that we get tangential on the podcast?
I love it.
I love it too.
Actually, yeah. I mean, one of my favorite podcasts is You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes. I don't know if you know that one.
I know who Pete Holmes is, but I do not know the podcast.
I think I'm sure there were ones before him, like Mark Maron does it, I think, and probably Joe Rogan. I don't listen to that one, but like these guys have just done long form and just meandering. I mean, I know they have their notes for sure, but yeah, I love it when somebody's interesting, and usually these guys are good at keeping the ball rolling,
and
drawing out
layers.
What's interesting is humans are interesting.
It's super fascinating.
I love listening to him because he's funny, but he also just has this theological bent to him, though he's a comedian.
Yeah, he was very religious growing up.
Yep, that's right.
And, have you ever watched his show?
Yeah, it's so good.
I was sick whenever they canceled it. I was absolutely sick about it.
Yep.
I heard they were supposed to make a movie about that.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe that's in development.
He's going to be in a show soon, just on one of the normal networks, but it's like about bowling or something. But I'm sure it's going to be fun.
It's about bowling.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Kingpin. I don't really care about bowling.
Yeah,
one of the best movies of all time.
That's right.
Okay, so third category, three CDs.
CDs. So when I was in college, I was the music producer or music director of my radio station. And so I was like on top of everything. And
did you have your own show?
I did have my own show. And then I was just so busy with determining what everybody else had to play that I stopped having my own show, but I loved it. And just being on top of it and catching what's new. But gosh, I get old and I don't even want to listen to anything new anymore.
I talk about it on here all the time. I was like, I listened to the same thing I listened to in 2007.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I really do.
But I have like a list of 10 that I just always have. But if I have to pick 3, so here's the deal. When we go on road trips, I'm always making us late, in part because, well, at least when CDs were a thing, I would just
fanning through the book.
Dwell on it way too long. And my wife's like, come on, we just go, it's going to be great, whatever it is. And now it's, of course, curating playlists to go. I take way too much time. So I would basically have to close my eyes and pull 3 of those, at least 10. So let's go with, I love Over the Rhine. I'd probably pick, there's a few good ones, but Over the Rhine's Good Dog, Bad Dog. I would pick Built to Spill's Keep It Like a Secret.
I know who that is. I don't know who Over the Rhine is.
That's all right. They're a band out of Cincinnati, a husband-wife duo, and just make very thoughtful, pretty music.
Yeah.
They've been around a long time, too. And then, so Built to Spill, Over the Rhine, and then probably the Beastie Boys, Hello Nasty.
Nice.
I just love that one. Either that or Deltron 3030.
Beastie Boys is the shit.
Oh, so good.
Can't help it.
Did you see that documentary?
I didn't.
Oh, watch it.
I know.
It's fun, especially if you have a connection to the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, that's one that I know that everyone talked about over and over again that I just never got into. But those are it sounds like good 3 choices. Okay, so I got 3 more questions for you.
Right.
The third to last question is the death row meal.
Okay.
So the death row meal, you could pick whatever you want to eat from wherever you want, as much as you want. You need to have at least 1 appetizer, a main course, and a dessert.
Oh man. So as I mentioned earlier, my diet it's sad is what it is.
Yeah. In a perfect world, if
that's
you didn't
right.
have
That's right. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to die in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Let's live it up here, right? So, oh gosh. So as an appetizer, I would probably eat a really good salad. There's a place, and I can't recall the name, that we've been to in Ann Arbor, Michigan recently. That's a vegan restaurant, and they just make this like vegan Reuben salad, and it was just amazing.
Like a Reuben.
Yeah, only it was, no meat products whatsoever. No.
Are you vegan?
I am. Yep.
Yeah. How long have you
except
been?
for our duck eggs and chicken eggs. Yep.
Yeah.
I've been vegetarian since 2002.
Oh wow.
And then vegan has been recent. My eldest Asher, he came home, or no, they were watching a documentary last year, and he was like, "I'm vegan." So
That's good.
And he's now in 8th grade, and yeah, we're like, all right. I mean, my wife Joanna and younger one Isaiah, they still have dairy from time to time, but yeah, Asher's hard nosed about it. And
that's all right.
With my new diet, I'm not supposed to be having dairy, so
there you go. Works in it.
Kind of forced vegan, but I'm into it anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. I had been telling myself I wanted to be vegan for a long time, and this kind of forced the issue there.
All right, there you go. Life works in mysterious ways.
Ooh. Yep.
So Reuben salad for an appetizer.
That's right. So the main course would be Spack Brothers hoagie, probably the Buffalo Seitan melt, with a side of D's 6-Pack and Dogs French fries. Oh my gosh. Best fries I've ever had.
Been told about Spack Bros 100 times, and I've never been there.
You need to just order your sandwich and go. Probably not tonight. It probably closes early, but
I need to go. I do need to go. And D's 6-Pack and Dogs, never been there either.
Oh, so when that was one of the first places when we first moved to Pittsburgh, somebody took us, and it was just a hole in the wall at the time, but with a pretty impressive beer selection.
Yeah.
And the best, I mean, as a vegetarian, it had the best hot dogs, but I'm sure the meat eaters loved it too.
Yeah.
Oh man. And that still holds up. So we would take anybody who came into town, we'd take them to D's, even though that's in Point Breeze.
Yeah.
And we lived on the north side. So it was always a trek, but we loved it.
Oh yeah. I love a good meal.
Yeah. Even if it is, pub food or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the dessert, I would say a piece of homemade pumpkin pie that my wife and I had made with, it has to be a la mode.
Oh.
So French vanilla ice cream. And it would be dairy.
That's
I'm
stuff.
about to die, right?
Yeah, you're about to die. You could take a shot of milk too. Yeah, I mean that's a good meal right there.
Yep.
It's always great to hear everyone's. It's always so interesting to hear everyone's choices about all these because like we learn. Obviously, you're the goat guy. You love goats. You love what you're doing there. We hear about that the first beginning of it, but this is like a quick hit of like what kind of person you are. Like throw a little bit of Beastie Boys in there.
That's right.
Little Spack Bros. Okay, second to last question, and probably the most telling question is if you're getting ready to go on a road trip and you can go into a gas station and you could pick one snack, what would it be? So
my snack of choice right now is a head of broccoli with hummus.
Oh, wow.
Now, do I find that at the gas station? No, I do not.
No.
So usually I have to, I'll stop at a grocery store for that one.
All right.
But I would love the pre where I'm at. Loved the like honey mustard pretzels or the Buffalo, is it her? No, Snyder's of Hanover.
Yeah, Snyder's Bits.
Yep.
All day.
That Mountain Dew was my guilty pleasure for sure.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I had a Mountain Dew.
I'm not going to tell you how long it was for me, but
all right,
not that long.
Last conversation, but the last question that I ask everyone is: if you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh, if I'm allowed to tweak this a little bit, I would actually say what I would love not more than anything, but I would so love to see what this country looked like prior to the arrival of Europeans. Probably meet some people, but I just am so fast. Like I just can't picture really what it was like.
Yeah.
Cause it's so Eurocentric what the, books tell us. So that's more than any certain person. I think that's really what I'd love to see.
That's a good answer though. It's interesting.
If you need me to say a person, I can say a person, but
I like that. No,
okay.
That's a good answer. Right. From Goat Rodeo, he said a Neanderthal. I was like, that's a cool answer.
Yeah.
Like that's I've had people say Randy Marsh on here. I've had people say, sports people, everyone, but
sure.
It's cool to hear about all this and kind of understand kind of where your mind goes whenever you ask these questions. That's why I don't.
It's a great.
That's why I don't tell people in the beginning like what to prepare for because I want it to be just what shoots in your head.
Sure.
But Gavin, I appreciate you coming over and talking to me. Please take a second to tell people where they could find the Allegheny GoatScape and tell people how they could volunteer if they
Sure.
wanted to do that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Chad, for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've been working on this or not working on it for months and months.
But it was
years.
meant to be.
There you go.
It happened.
Absolutely. So where we're located, I mean, you can check out our website to see where the goats are actively working at AlleghenyGoatScape.org. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at Allegheny GoatScape. Yeah, we if you're interested in hanging out and learning more about how to care for the goats, you can definitely email me, and you can do that through our website. So,
All right.
yeah.
I appreciate you coming out. Whenever I say, I'm down to volunteer and get
Cool.
some shit going.
Yeah.
Maybe some people listening will be down to volunteer too. I might be able to get us a little crew and, put us to work.
Yeah,
but,
come out and meet Hobo and the crew.
I would love to. Everyone else that's listening, I appreciate it as usual. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It is a big help for me. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Next week, we will be back with the beginning of the Halloween episodes. We're going to be talking to Triple B Farm about what it's like to run a pumpkin patch, October, and how it is a love and hate relationship for the month of or the couple months that fall are. But I appreciate everyone listening, and I'll call you right back.